So continuation, okay, education day. Welcome to education day. So last time we talked about planes of motion, okay? So let's use my colors. We talked about sagittal plane, so I'll go sagittal plane, which is a front to back, right? And then a frontal plane, which is a side to side. And then we also had transverse, okay? Which is super cool. Now the cool thing about that, okay, is we also have modes of contraction. So I'm just gonna write that down as a preview for next week. So we have like isometrics, which is like a plank. I probably should color coordinate that, whatever. We have myometrics or concentrics. We also have plyometrics, which is an eccentric. Now what I'm gonna do for this, now this week for programming, what we did to kind of get you guys into this and understanding that is a way you can program is you can train and work through those planes. Like we did frontal plane, we did a lateral raise, we did a lateral raise, we did a side bend, we did a lateral lunge. That's all in the frontal plane, which is great. But I'm gonna also talk about how when you train, all those planes are still being used. So don't mind me, let me scoot this back. If I'm talking about this, okay, I'm gonna use a lunge, which the lunge movement is gonna be in the sagittal plane, okay? So if I set up in a lunge, let me move this. So if I set up in a lunge, from here, and I'm set. Once I do that, even though my motion's in the sagittal plane, I'm doing an isometric of abduction and adduction, so I'm still working those muscles on the side. I'm also making sure when I go into this lunge, I'm not rotating my pelvis. So I'm doing an isometric or an anti-rotation. So I don't want to all over the place. So the cool thing about that is when you exercise or do a chest press, say I'm doing a row, bench supported row, I'm doing a row, it's still in the sagittal plane, but the stuff is preventing me from moving here and I'm not rotating. So even though, if you want to, you can train in the planes of motion, but you're still getting work towards those other muscles and they're just working in a stabilizing fashion. So even though you do a lunge in that plane and you're like, I don't want to do a lateral lunge. Okay, maybe figure out an exercise that can help you work in the frontal plane and the lateral lunge is just not the go. That's okay. But what's cool is when you do a stationary lunge or reverse lunge, when you do that motion, you're using the other muscles that help you move side to side and rotate as an isometric. So an isometric is essentially like a plank. So if I hold a plank, what an isometric is when I contract, but my joint's not moving, but I'm working both sides of the joint. So when I do a lunge, my abductors and adductors, or outer thigh and inner thigh, work together to make sure I can move up and down. So that's what's really cool. Even though you don't always train in the plane, you're still getting work to those muscles. It doesn't mean you're getting the same contraction demand, which is okay. There's a benefit to that too, but you're still getting a full triplanar. They say work the planes, train the planes. It's a functional movement thing. It's not a bad thing, but it allows you to still work those planes in an isometric fashion. So even if you don't move outside that plane all the time, that's okay. So if you got your meat and potatoes of exercise you like to do, maybe every once in a while, explore outside of that plane to give yourself an option to be able to move through all those planes. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Mess with that, and if that's over the top and understanding that, that's okay. But realize through this, we gotta exercise, right? Exercise helps with brain health, helps with immune health, helps with all these things. It helps with cognitive abilities. They're starting to find that out more. So first off, I'd encourage you guys, keep moving, keep exercising, and don't get overcomplicated, because what can happen sometimes, hopefully I didn't overcomplicate you with this, is that what can happen is paralysis by analysis. And I'll be honest, that happened to me like a few years ago, where I was overthinking everything and I wasn't training as hard because I was overthinking. And so now I understand why we hire a professional trainer to train us, so that we can have them focus on that, learn a little bit, but not have happen paralysis by analysis. So hopefully that makes sense. Still train through the planes, but even if you don't do that all the time like we did this week, that's okay. We're still getting challenged to all three of those planes when exercising. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.